It was a routine traffic stop on a humid August evening when 32-year-old Aisha Thompson, a corporate attorney, found herself pulled over for a broken taillight. What should have been a quick exchange turned ugly fast as two officers mocked her race, her car, and her confidence, their words dripping with contempt. Aisha stayed calm, her phone in hand, and made a single call that flipped the script. Within minutes, those officers' careers were unraveling, their badges on the line, as the weight of their actions crashed down around them. Aisha Thompson was driving home from a long day at her law firm in downtown Atlanta. She was behind the wheel of her silver Lexus, the radio tuned low to a jazz station, her mind on the brief she needed to finish by morning. She was used to long hours, to navigating high-stakes meetings with clients and opposing counsel, to holding her own in rooms where she was often the only black woman. At 32, she'd built a reputation as a sharp, meticulous attorney, one who didn't back down. But nothing in her years of practice had prepared her for what was about to unfold. She noticed the flashing lights in her rear-view mirror just as she turned onto a quiet stretch of Peachtree Road. A police cruiser signaled for her to pull over. Aisha's heart sank, not out of guilt, but out of instinct. She'd heard the stories, seen the videos, lived the reality of being black in America. She pulled over carefully, her hands visible on the steering wheel, her movements deliberate. She turned off the radio, lowered her window, and waited. Two officers approached, their flashlights cutting through the dusk. Officer Daniel Hargrove, a stocky man in his late 30s with a buzz cut, took the lead. His partner, Officer Michael Vance, younger and leaner, stood a step behind, his hand resting casually on his holster. Hargrove shone his light into Aisha's car, his eyes scanning her, the leather seats, the briefcase in the passenger seat. "Evening, ma'am," Hargrove said, his tone clipped. "Do you know why we pulled you over?" Aisha kept her voice steady, professional. "No, sir, I don't." "Was I speeding?" Hargrove smirked, glancing at Vance. "Broken taillight. Left side. You didn't notice?" Aisha frowned, genuinely surprised. "No, I didn't. I'll get it fixed right away. Can I see your badge numbers, please?" The request was polite, standard, but Hargrove's smirk faded. "Badge numbers? What? You don't trust us?" He leaned closer, his flashlight still in her face. "You some kind of lawyer or something?" "I am a lawyer," Aisha said, her tone even, "and I'd like to see your badge numbers." Vance chuckled, stepping forward. "Oh, we got a fancy one here, Dan. Look at this car, this attitude. You think you're better than us, don't you?" Aisha's grip on the steering wheel tightened, but she kept her composure. "I'm just asking for your badge numbers, officer. That's my right." Hargrove's eyes narrowed. "You're right," he repeated, mocking her. "You people always know your rights, don't you? Always got something to say." Aisha's stomach churned at the phrase, "you people," but she didn't flinch. She'd dealt with prejudice before, in courtrooms, in boardrooms, in everyday life. She knew how to stay calm, how to keep her head. "I'm not trying to cause trouble," she said. "I just want to know who I'm dealing with." Vance laughed again, louder this time. "Who you're dealing with? Girl, you're dealing with the law. You think that fancy degree and this car make you untouchable? Where'd you even get this ride? You borrow it for night?" Aisha's jaw clenched, but she didn't take the bait. She reached slowly for her phone, resting on the passenger seat, and held it up. "I'm going to record this," she said, her voice firm. "And I'm going to ask one more time for your badge numbers." Hargrove stepped back, his face hardening. "Record all you want. You're getting a ticket for that taillight. And if you keep running your mouth, we'll find something else to write you up for. Maybe you've got something in that trunk you don't want us to see." Aisha's heart pounded, but she didn't waver. She tapped her phone, starting the video, and angled it to capture both officers. "I'm not running my mouth," she said. "I'm asking for your badge numbers. Hargrove and Vance, right? I heard you call each other by name." Vance's smirk faltered, but Hargrove leaned in again, his voice low and mocking. "You think you're real smart, don't you? Bet you think you can talk your way out of this, huh? Typical." Aisha didn't respond. She scrolled through her contacts, her thumb steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. She found the number she was looking for and hit call, Putting the phone on speaker, the officers exchanged a glance, their bravado slipping just a fraction. The call connected after 2 rings. Chief Reynolds. A deep voice answered. "Chief, this is Aisha Thompson," she said, her voice clear and calm. "I'm sorry to bother you after hours, but I've been pulled over on Peachtree Road by Officers Hargrove and Vance. They're refusing to provide their badge numbers and making inappropriate comments about my race. I'm recording this, and I'd like you to address it." There was a brief pause on the line. Then Chief Reynolds' voice came through, sharp and authoritative. "Aisha, are you safe?" "Yes, sir," Aisha said, "but I don't feel safe. They've implied I don't belong in my car and suggested I'm hiding something illegal. I need this handled." Hargrove's face paled, and Vance shifted uncomfortably, his hand dropping from his holster. "Who's she talking to?" Vance muttered, but Hargrove didn't answer. "Officers Hargrove and Vance," Reynolds said, his voice booming through the speaker. "This is Chief of Police James Reynolds. You'll provide your badge numbers immediately and explain why you're making unprofessional comments to Ms. Thompson. I'm on my way, and I'm bringing internal affairs. Stay where you are." Hargrove opened his mouth, then closed it, his bravado gone. Yes, sir," he stammered, rattling off his badge number. Vance followed, his voice barely audible. Aisha kept the phone up, still recording, her eyes locked on Hargrove. "Thank you, Chief," she said. "I'll wait for you." The call ended, and the air grew thick with tension. Hargrove took a step back, his flashlight now pointed at the ground. "Look, ma'am, maybe we got off on the wrong foot," he said, his tone softer, almost pleading. "No need to escalate this." Aisha didn't respond. She kept her phone steady, the red recording light glowing. Vance muttered something under his breath, but he didn't dare speak up. The officers stood there, caught in the weight of their own words as the minutes ticked by. 10 minutes later, 2 cars pulled up, a black SUV and an unmarked sedan. Chief Reynolds stepped out of the SUV, a tall man in his 50s with a no-nonsense demeanor. From the sedan emerged Captain Linda Hayes from Internal Affairs, her expression grim. Aisha lowered her phone but kept recording just in case. "Officers," Reynolds said, striding toward them. "Step over here. Now." Hargrove and Vance complied, their heads down. Reynolds turned to Aisha. "You okay, Aisha?" "Yes, sir," she said, just shaken up. Reynolds nodded, then turned to the officers. "I want to hear it from you. What happened here?" Hargrove started to speak, his words stumbling. "We pulled her over for a broken taillight, Chief. She got combative, started demanding badge numbers." "Combative?" Aisha cut in, her voice steady. "I asked for your badge numbers politely. You mock my race, my car, and my profession. I have it all recorded." Reynolds' eyes narrowed. "You recorded it?" "Yes, sir," Aisha said, holding up her phone. "Video and audio?" Hayes stepped forward. "I'll need to see that, Ms. Thompson. And I'll need statements from all of you." Aisha nodded, emailing the video to Hayes on the spot. The officers stood silently, their faces ashen. Reynolds turned to them, his voice low but cutting. "You two are suspended, effective immediately, pending investigation. Hand over your badges and weapons. You're done here." Vance started to protest, but Hargrove elbowed him, silencing him. They removed their badges and handed them to Hayes, who placed them in an evidence bag. Reynolds turned back to Aisha. "I'm sorry this happened. We'll take it from here. Can I get you anything?" "I just want to go home," Aisha said, her voice steady but tired. "And I want to know this won't happen to someone else." Reynolds nodded. "It won't. Not on my watch." Aisha got back in her car, her hand still trembling as she gripped the wheel. She drove home, the weight of the encounter settling into her bones. She'd handled it, kept her cool, made the right call, protected herself, but it didn't erase the sting of the officers' words, the way they looked at her like she didn't belong. By the next morning, the video had been reviewed by Internal Affairs. Hargrove and Vance were called into a meeting with Reynolds and Hayes. The evidence was damning. Clear audio of their mocking comments, their refusal to provide badge numbers, their insinuations about Aisha's car and character. By noon, Both officers were terminated, their careers over in a matter of hours. The department issued a public statement, condemning their behavior and promising further training to prevent future incidents. Aisha didn't watch the news that day. She was back at her desk, working on her brief, her focus unbroken. But word spread quickly. Colleagues texted her, offering support. Friends called, outraged on her behalf. Her mother left a voicemail, her voice thick with pride and worry. Aisha listened to it, then set her phone down. She didn't want to dwell on the incident, didn't want it to define her. She'd done what she had to do, and she'd won. The community response was mixed. Some praised the department for acting swiftly, for holding the officers accountable. Others grumbled about overreactions and political correctness, arguing the officers were just doing their jobs. Online, the debate raged, with Aisha's name trending on social media. She stayed off X, not wanting to see the comments, the inevitable vitriol. She knew the truth of what happened, and that was enough. Chief Reynolds reached out to her a few days later, offering a formal apology and an invitation to speak at a community forum on policing. Aisha considered it, then declined. She wasn't ready to be a symbol, a spokesperson. She just wanted to live her life, to do her job, to drive home without fear. But she kept the video, saved on her phone, and backed up to cloud. It was a reminder, not just of what she'd faced, but of what she'd overcome. She'd stood her ground, used her voice, and turned the tables on two men who thought they could belittle her and walk away. They'd underestimated her, and they'd paid the price. For Hargrove and Vance, the fallout was swift and brutal. Their names were plastered across local news, their faces tied to the scandal. They lost their pensions, their reputations, their futures in law enforcement. Hargrove moved out of state, hoping to start over. Vance took a job in private security. But the stain of the incident followed him, whispered about in every interview. Aisha didn't celebrate their downfall. She didn't need to. She protected herself, asserted her rights, and exposed their prejudice for the world to see. That was enough. She went back to her life, her cases, her clients, her early mornings and late nights. But she carried the memory of that night with her, a quiet strength that no one could take away. The neighborhood where the stop happened didn't change much. Cars still sped down Peachtree Road. Lights still flashed in the dusk. But for those who knew the story, it was a turning point, a moment when one woman's courage forced a reckoning. Aisha Thompson didn't set out to make history. She just wanted to drive home. But in those tense, heated minutes, she'd done something bigger. She'd shown what happens when you stand up, speak out, and refuse to be silenced.